Welcome to our do's and don'ts of managing finances during a crisis. I am Crystal McKenna, your realtor with Fathom Realty. I'm here to help you with your real estate needs. Today, I have with me Nikki Hauser and Jeannine Rick. Nikki, I'm going to have you go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
Awesome. Well, hey everyone, I'm Nikki. I work for Center Street as a mortgage loan originator. I have always been about service to others, and I'm really happy my career allows me to help fulfill service in that realm. So I enjoy working with all types of people, getting to know people in our community, and helping them guide them through the process of buying a home. And I just love that. That makes me so happy. Before I did this, I actually worked at the food bank and our local cooperative, and I developed some education and outreach. So I'm excited to be a part of this series because it's kind of getting back to my roots of supporting our community members in their times of need. And I really hope that we can provide some good information here, and just know that you're not alone. We're here to help you get through these times.
Thank you, Nikki. Jeannine, can you introduce yourself for us, our guest speaker?
I'm Jeannine Rick. I'm with Primerica Financial Services. Before that, I've done a lot of things in my life. I was a personal trainer in fitness, and I was a realtor. And I found this to be a home for me because I love helping others change their lives on a financial level. I've always done things where I was helping others, but this one really just speaks to me because the educational piece and how we educate people on how money works. The banks don't want us to know all this information. They like to keep us in debt. They like to keep us spinning around. And this information I'm going to show you and share with you is basic finances that everybody needs to know that we didn't learn in school, basically. And the other piece of this too is my family was taken advantage of by other financial companies. I come from a family of musicians, doctors, lawyers, and teachers, all different income levels. We were all taken advantage of by other companies. And that really took me off. And I don't want that to happen to other people if it happened to me. So I'm really excited that you're here today and learning this because it's a step in the right direction how we can help people in these times.
No, and I appreciate you ladies teaming up with me on this effort because we're all experiencing this pandemic together. But a lot of people don't realize that even when the pandemic's done, there's still other forms of crisis, which happens to go in right into our presentation is what is a crisis other than COVID-19?
Yeah, it's losing a job, it's losing income, it's a health issue for some people, it's a loss of a loved one. But when I hear the word crisis, I think of a tornado hitting your home, and it's devastation. Mm-hmm. That you're losing your home based on a disaster or a war going on. What we're in right now, to me, is just a disturbance in our lives that we can learn from and that we can grow from. So we're learning about ourselves being home, and we're learning about our own finances being home. So we're learning about a lot of things. And we're going to grow from this, and we're going to take it on and be ourselves through this. My challenge growing up, I had a stroke at 29. My health challenge. I don't call it a crisis. I just call it a disturbance in my life. I didn't work for a month, and I woke up and I couldn't talk. So I found myself in the hospital, the same hospital I was born in Philadelphia, ironically. And come to find out, it was just a combination of birth control pills and chemical and antihistamine. So I was a healthy personal trainer. I was playing tennis, all kinds of things. But I learned about myself during that time, and I grew from it. I lost my voice, yes, but I lost my voice before that. I lost my voice 3 times in my life. And now I'm speaking to you. So I grew from that. So another thing too, during that time, I had the occupational therapist giving me a bunch of change to count the change, just to see what my brain was doing. I couldn't count the change. My brain was still healing. And here I'm doing financial services. So we're going to learn from this.
I love that. I said overcoming obstacles. I love that.
yeah, and just learning through it, and don't let it get you down. It's just going to be part of your life. Things are going to happen. Sometimes it's all at once.
So what I'm
Sometimes
hearing
it's
from
not
you
all at once.
is a mindset. Don't think of it as
Mhm.
crisis. Think it, change your mindset about it. Just, it's a disturbance. So I really like how you approach that. It's not a crisis. It's a disturbance. It's not something that's going to last forever.
Right. It's just temporary. This is temporary. We like it to be over with quicker than when it's happening right now, but we're going to live through it, and we're going to be better beyond this. Definitely. Yeah. So we're going to talk about do's and don'ts about the financial crisis, or in this pandemic as we are. We also have a pandemic of financial illiteracy that's going on, and that's been around before the pandemic as well. So there are two scenarios. One's a person having stable income, and then one person that's going to have a loss of income or decreased hours. So instead of 40 hours, they're maybe working 20 hours a week, and they're working from home typically. So we're going to talk about those two things and put it in perspective, and then teach you some concepts to wrap around this, basically. So when you have stable income, your income hasn't changed, right? So what you're going to do is basically live your life as normal as possible, right? So you're going to continue to pay your bills on time, especially your mortgage, your living expenses, your rent, you know, because that's important, right? Definitely. So you're going to continue to put money in savings and your investments, because the emergency fund is so important. We talk about saving for 3 to 6 months of your income to put in that savings, just in case things happen, unforeseen expenses, right? In Arizona, it's the 4 tires in your car go out in the summer. Where's that money going to come from, right? Instead of tapping on the credit cards, tap into the cash, right? That's a smart thing to do. So yeah, do not touch your savings, do not touch your investments, because your investments are there for the future, for retirement. What's going to take care of you in retirement? Your credit cards are you going to go into debt. Your income's going to take care of you during retirement, because you need to live off of money, right? Basically. So let's say you have a budget. I hope you created a budget. If not, we're going to create one for you or help you do that. But you do have a budget, and you're going to stick to it. Stick to that budget to the best you can. We're not talking about, spending on another car, a motorcycle, and things like that. But because you need to know in this pandemic what's going to happen in the next month or the next 2 months. We don't know what's going to happen with that job. Jobs are not secure today, basically. So somebody that's been laid off, that's another story, right? So you want to definitely pay your bills on time, and take a look at what your debts are and what your income is. Take a look what's coming in, take a look at what's going out, and just pay attention to that. Maybe it will be the first time that you're paying attention to it. I don't know. Everybody's going to be different with that. And, we're going to talk about needs versus wants. And I'm going to show you here about needs and wants. So needs and wants are very two different things, right?
Absolutely. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm confused. I know sometimes I can confuse my needs versus my wants, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You want it so bad, you feel like you need it. That's what happens, I think. But if you need something and you just want it, you think about the difference, right? So let's give yourself a rule in your money game. Make it a game, basically. So if you have something that you're spending $50 or more, think about that in the 24 hours. Do I really need this, or is something I can live without, basically? Now that's a pair of shoes. A pair of shoes can be $100 as well, right? So you may want to make that rule for you. It could be $100. It could be $80. But if I have a price tag of $100, I'm going to second guess myself, why do I need that? Is it just going to put me more into debt, or is it something I can live with or live without, basically? So that's impulse buying. A lot of people get trapped into debt with impulse buying today. This is why Amazon is so famous today. People are becoming shopaholics, online shopping, right? And then their debts are showing up there.
Real quick, Jeannine, are you meaning to share, because right now we're seeing your quick access screen versus the actual document, the needs versus wants. I wasn't sure if you were meaning to share.
You don't see the needs versus wants?
No, we see the quick access to your documents that are in line.
You might have a thing at the bottom says pause share. I had that happen to me earlier when I switched screens. It kept it on the last one.
Okay, let's see what happens now. What do you see now?
The same thing. Do you have two screens?
Let's do this. I'm going to stop share. I'm going to share again and see what happens.
Because I know earlier when I was sharing, it gave me the option to do two screens, and I could share one or the other. And we're seeing your document stack right now. It's thinking. It's thinking.
Well, to add on to your impulse buying, something that I drive my family nuts is, like, if I go shopping, like to Ross, I always have a hard time buying something for myself. And so I'll walk around the store with my shopping cart with stuff in there. But then by the time I leave, I put everything back except for one or two items. And so a lot of times my husband's like, you've got to buy at least one item. It's like, but I don't need it. I want it, but I don't need it.
Can you pass on some of that self-control, lady?
That's when I'm at the store. When it's online shopping, unfortunately, yeah, I don't do that part very well online.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not sharing too well. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So that's the needs versus wants. And yeah, take a look at what you're doing with that. Just take a look at your behaviors. And one time I was actually in a financial workshop that they gave us an exercise to give $1 to somebody randomly, whoever it was, whether it's family, friends, wherever, even if it's at a restaurant or something. See what kind of feelings pop up when you give that $1 to somebody. And that'll show what kind of stories you have going on about money with your behavior. Because you're thinking about money, your thoughts behind money is going to direct your behavior about money and your results about money, basically.
Whether
so,
you feel like you can give $1 or if you really truly need that dollar kind of thing. Is that the...
Yeah, it could be a lot of feelings that come up. It's like, I really need that $1. Why am I giving it to him? You know? Or I'm so blessed to give him the $1 and he's going to be so happy about that $1. So just see what kind of reactions and responses come from that. And just learn from that. Learn how you think about money, basically. So for me, personally, I have two sides of my family. I have an Italian side on my mom's side. They were givers. They were starving musicians. But my grandfather gave us $1 when we would go visit him. But he said, I'm not raising it. I'm not upping it. So I took that personally, and I said, I made up a story that I was not worth more than $1. Now, my brother, we had this conversation just about 5 years ago. My brother took it for face value. He wasn't raising it. He's told the truth. And he's in a different position. And my dad's side of the family, German, Pennsylvania, Dutch, and Irish, they were penny smart, dollar dumb. So they grew up, both generations, they grew up in the Depression, right? So my grandmother on my dad's side, she would measure the water to wash her dishes before the dishwashers came out, right? So she was thinking she was saving money on water, But then down the road, she would have so much trouble with the drain, she would have to spend $200 to replace the drain. So I had these two stories about money on both sides of the family. So I had to make a choice for me personally. What do I want to do with my own money, right? So I got to learn about that through all this. And everybody's going to have different stuff come up about money, definitely.
Do you
But yeah,
have some specific criteria, maybe just like a couple things for each side, like needs versus wants, that can help people kind of, because like I said, sometimes I'm like, oh, I absolutely need that, but really I could probably use something else in place, or so like what are the criteria to help us kind of think about really truly what our needs versus wants are?
well, give me an example what you would buy on impulse.
I think for me, it's more like when I'm like grocery shopping or something and I'm like, oh, I need that because I'm going to cook with that. But it also, like, it could be an ingredient that I could use something up at home. And, you know, when I'm not in a financial, you know, stress or duress, then I can have no issue purchasing that item, versus like right now, I'm trying to use up like everything in the fridge to not have any waste. And so there's things that I can substitute for other things, you know, that, so maybe at some point, like a need is different at a certain financial point in my life versus others too.
Right. Now, sometimes for me, it comes into clothing. Do I really need this shirt? Or I can live without it. And for different people, it's going to be different things. Like, you know, for you, it might be food. For me, it's clothing or things like that, or shoes. Like, I don't need another pair of shoes for $100 a shot. That could go in my savings account and earn a big interest on my savings account. So yeah, so I would just take a look at each purchase. I mean, they were talking about $50 to second guess if I really need this, but a grocery trip can be $50. So I'm thinking about other material items like clothing or shoes and things like that, because we do need to eat. But pay attention to the sales, definitely. And then if you can make do with what you have at home, just do that. Definitely.
I think if I break it down, probably there's a lot less need than I really truly think that I have. So that's all I was saying. What kind of criteria can we think at? Like maybe a couple of things for each side that people can take a look at to really see if it's something that they need or that they just want. Is there specifics to that, or is that just person by person has to really just thinking about it?
Yeah,
Person by person.
Yeah, that's a great question. Definitely. Somebody can make a whole chicken last for 5 days, and they can do it all different ways. They get really creative with that. I haven't learned that yet.
Very true.
Yeah.
So your need may be different than somebody else's in that manner.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Definitely. Yeah. So when you're being laid off and your hours are decreased, you definitely want to make your mortgage payments, make your rent payments, all your living expenses, because that's what's most important at the time, basically, and then food and all that. So if you have credit card balances and you're able to make the minimum payments, do that. But if you're not able to do that, talk to the bank. Maybe get a payment plan together with them, and they can arrange something in the meantime until things get better for you. And then with the stimulus check, that's the big question. What do I do with my stimulus check these days, right? Well, if your income's stable, maximize your savings, maximize your investments, because you really don't need that to live off of. But when you have a loss of income, you may need a portion of that or all of it to live off of for mortgages and things like that of nature. So I hope that helps with that. And then streamlining your expenses would create a budget. And I have a budget sheet we can email out to everybody to talk about that. It's categorized to each thing: your housing expenses, your living expenses, your play money, right? Your vacations, things like that. So yeah, it'll categorize it, and then see where the money's going. See what's coming in, see what's going out, and you have the whole picture right there in the budget sheet. And my suggestion too is to write your monthly income on the top of the sheet. So it's right there in front of you, facing you in the face, that this is the money I have to play with. And you stick to it. So if you make $3,500 a month and you're spending $3,500 $1, you're going into debt. And people need to realize that. And then that spiral continues. Then next month it's going to be $3,500 $10. You know,
Jeannine,
and then it's, yeah.
I would say the biggest mistake is people not looking at the numbers. Like literally writing down what their income is versus what their debts are. Would you say that's probably the biggest mistake, that they're just guessing?
Yeah, people, that's an avoidant personality. People want to avoid seeing what's real. And that's what it comes down to, I think, is that they don't want to see what's real. And so they're playing with numbers in their mind, but they don't see it on paper. What's the reality of this? Absolutely.
And where to cut back to kind of keep within that budget.
Yeah. They might be overpaying on insurances. They might be overpaying on medical expenses and things like that. And there are ways to cut back, and I can help people with that too. Definitely.
Awesome. Any tips for people who maybe are on a tight budget? Because I know it becomes harder. I've spoken with a couple people who, friends of mine that, are on a budget, but a lot of times it's really hard because they're like, well, I haven't done anything fun. I've been working all these hours and I got my paycheck. And then they're like, well, I just want to do something. I just want to do one of my wants versus, taking care of the needs. And then it becomes more stressful when the money's gone to take care of said needs. Any suggestions for people like that? Or
it's really finding a balance. Like, there are people who want to go for frozen yogurt every night, right? Or Starbucks every day. I'm saying just minimize that and to save the money for other expenses that come up. You need to find a balance. If I look at my budget sheet every week and look and penny pinch every day, I'm going to go insane, basically. So you can take a look at an overview take a look at it weekly or take a look at it monthly and just see what changed month by month, and then track yourself that way. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I was going to point out, because you did say, for the people who right now have job security, I mean, we know in life that there's, nothing's really guaranteed. So making sure that, some of those funds are put away in case something does happen for the future right now, because everything is kind of in the unknown a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you can put money away, I suggest putting 10% on every dollar that you make. Put it away in an emergency fund for the things that you don't know what's going to happen. Definitely. If you can start 10%, that's great. If you have to start at 5% for every dollar, that's fine too. Now, as times get better, you may be able to do 15% or 20% and pay yourself first with that. Definitely.
Well, I like how you said pay yourself first. Essentially, that's what your investments and your savings is to do that. But of course, during a crisis, you have to arrange things. And I like what you said, Nikki, was you have to relook at things. You really do have to relook at a whole situation. And if anything good's coming out of this, I think a lot of people are looking at their certain situations, and I think they're realizing, like you said earlier, hey, I could cut back on this. I could get a better insurance quote, save money there. Or I can stretch my food further instead of say, oh, I'm going to toss it out, get a different flavor this week. And so I think, if anything, with the pandemic, we're learning to be more resourceful with what we have. In some cases, we're kind of thrown into it. Look at all the recipes that you see on Facebook now about homemade disinfectants. I think people are being resourceful, and they're just seeing this as a temporary situation in their life.
We have time to do so right now, so it's a good time for us to kind of reevaluate. If you have time, to sit down and look at a budget, versus sometimes we end up getting so busy that we don't have time to look at our spending because we know that, okay, we got to get this, we got to get this. And at the end of the day, we don't have the time to review it.
Right.
I think right now is a really good time to settle in on figuring out where we may be overspending versus needs versus wants and that kind of thing.
Now I have a
Okay.
question for the two of you.
Okay.
And this is from my real estate background. I'm going to put the both of you on there. Is a lot of times as an agent, people don't mind opening up to me about things, letting me know that, okay, I want to do this. But then once they want me to connect them with either a lender or a financial expert, it's like all of a sudden they realize their skeletons in the closet's going to come out. And they don't want to have to face those when they sit down and talk with you. But I'm sure there's people that still feel that way when they look at a pen and paper and they have to write it out, or like that budget worksheet that we'll email to everybody. I'm sure they still get anxiety knowing that they're going to have to sit down. What advice do you guys have to give to people to overcome that roadblock to where they sit down and start writing down the true numbers?
Jeannine, you first.
Okay. So I say just do it and just tackle it, because it may get out of control 10 years down the road or 5 years down the road. Take care of it right now. Time is of the essence, essentially. And again, we don't know what's going to happen next month or 2 months down the road with things. It's best just to take care of things right now, definitely. And learn to accept where you are at the moment. That's what I had to do for me personally. Before Primerica Financial Services, I was a financial mess. And I got through it knowing these concepts that we teach as well. And I said, oh my God, how come they didn't teach this in school? Really? Money's important. Money's the most important thing. It tells you how your life lives and how your quality of life goes, basically. It tells you how your kids go to college, or what kind of schools your kids go to, and what kind of savings you can save to buy a house, and where I want to live, and things like that. So it controls a lot of things in your life. So we just have to sit down and say, this is what I'm going to do. It's a decision for my life, and you'll feel freer after you've done it. Definitely.
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, nobody's perfect. So we all have things that we can work on. And doing that face first gives you the visuals to see where can you make improvements. Also, I am a person that I like to have a little bit of extra money to go places and maybe go on road trips and stuff like that. But if I don't watch my spending with certain things that don't bring me that much joy, maybe like it's very fleeting, or, like it's that cup of coffee or whatever that you spent $6 on a day. But at the end of the day, if you can look at a budget and figure out where you can save on those things, so that at the end of the month, maybe you can take a family road trip, or you can take a family, outing, or whatever it is that provides a lot more long-lasting joy and memories for you guys than just the everyday wants that are taking from you.
Yeah, we, as an American society, we got so caught up in instant gratification.
Absolutely.
And shopping online and things like that. And we show it in our debt. Americans' debt is up to $15,000 on a credit card. And a family has 3 to 5 credit cards. And
I like what you said. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, we can help people through that and learn how to tackle that debt.
One of the things that hit me when you first started talking is talking about how the banks don't want us to know how to manage our finances. Banks are not in business because they're handing us free money. They are in business so they can hand us a credit card and we can pay interest on the money that they're lending us. So there are ways to use credit cards that you can get 0% interest, and if you pay it off, you can get points for travel and things like that. But for the most part, that's not what they're in business for. They're in business to take more money. And if you really truly look at what you're spending on cards to have all these extras above and beyond your budget, it's costing you thousands in the end. And that kind of just snowballs.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely.
Well, one thing I want to bring up is I know because I do have a background in social services, and Nikki, I know you have a background in it as well, is this is the time where you need to get to know your community resources, and each community is different. And each community has their little gemstone that's like the hub of all the resources. And I know, Nikki, you talked earlier about is if your money is not going, I mean, if you have to put your money in other places, that you may have to look to say, hey, I need to go to the food bank. I need to go get what they have there and find ways to work with what I'm getting to stretch my dollar out, because maybe you do need to pay that rent or that electric bill and stuff like that. And I think one thing when you're in a crisis is that you need to turn to your leaders to see what community resources are available. Like I know in the Casa Grande area, there is the Community Action Human Resource Agency, which everybody calls CARA for short. But again, they're just one agency. But there's also agencies for veterans that I would recommend veterans going to. And just reaching out to your leaders, reaching out to your local community. I mean, right now, Facebook is like a hot zone for information. And it's nice to see how people are coming together to share resources and information. But I think in a crisis, everybody needs to know what resources are available and not wait till the last minute to start seeking them, because things do get depleted, unfortunately, if they're exhausted.
Yeah, don't be too proud to ask for help, because we're all in this together. And I think, if you look at a budget and you find that maybe you only have enough money to get through those bills, your electricity and your rent and things like that, and that if you are able to put all those together, that if you don't have a budget for food, or if you don't have a budget, there's so many people I see posting on Facebook, here, if you need this, let me give you some toilet paper, let me give you some food. Mm-hmm. There's powwow. There's so many resources in the community to reach out so that you can save your dollars for the things that maybe somebody can't take care of for you. So think about it in that manner too when you're budgeting, like including some of those resources in the community for the extras.
Yeah, and some of these outreach programs, they don't need to see your income level. You don't have to prove your income for the services. So that's a good thing too. And I think there's one here called Produce Junction, maybe in the Phoenix area. I'm not sure, but that's something to look up. I know there's one in Central Phoenix area that's like that, and they give you a whole bunch of produce, and it's something that you can just share with people as well, rather than just go to waste and things like that. But yeah, there's a lot out there that it just takes looking to research it and find out what's out there.
And then also looking at unemployment. Right now, there's so many things are going out from the DES, and then of course the Small Business Bureau. They're all offering things out there. And then I'm still hearing like there's temporary workforces that are hiring for essential employees at some of these locations. And so ultimately, I think you have to, this is the time when you have this disturbance, I'm not going to call it crisis, when you have this disturbance, is that you're called upon to be resourceful, think outside the box. And you might have to take a part-time job that you're not quite happy with, but you just have to remind yourself it's just temporary. It's just temporary. Things will get back to normal, whatever the new normal may be.
Or you may find that you love it and you got a new second job for extra discretionary funds.
Mm-hmm. There you go. More play money.
More and more play money. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, too, with Primerica Financial, we're looking for people, too. So if people want to make extra part-time money, you can do that. If people want a career change, you can do that. And then another extra $500 to $1,000 a month can help prevent a foreclosure as well. So yeah, we're looking for people, we're growing, and we train people. I did not have a financial background, as you said before. We have people from all different backgrounds. My regional leader, my regional vice president, he was a bartender and learned this. So it's easy to learn, absolutely. We learned how to drive a car and learned how to talk, right? So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for our closing thoughts, the thing that I heard the most is it all begins with your mindset. If we think in the form of crisis, we're just going to contribute to that chaos. And therefore, we need to change our mindset and think of it as just a temporary disturbance and get things down on paper. be real with yourself and get things down on paper, your budget and your expenses, or your income and your expenses, so that you know what's coming up. I mean, you said it earlier, Jeannine, that you got to be real with yourself. And I think we have more than enough time now to be real with ourselves. Now, we do have a series. This is a part of a series. And Jeannine, I'm going to have you talk about our next one coming up is preparing for a future financial security. What can we expect with that with our next week series?
Yeah, we're going to talk about tackling debt if people have debt, and really get your mindset around that to tackle that. And then once the debt's freed up too, is helping people save for the future and saving for the emergency fund as well. So it all works together. And we'll talk about the whole financial picture.
I'm excited.
It's been great.
Yeah.
We're here for you guys too. If you want to reach out to see if there's any specific things that we can help with, or guidance, or just a friendly ear for some advice or anything like that, you guys just reach out to us. We're here to help.
And our information will be at the end of the video.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you, ladies. I appreciate this. And I'm excited on how things are going to turn out.
Me too. Good night, all.